Hello everyone, just Gordon here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video. Today we are looking at the majestic Dhole. I mean, look at it, what a wonderful creature here. Also known as the Dhole, as Mike Sheen used to call it. Yeah, this is such an amazing animal. Every time I go to a zoo that has dholes, they are active, showing some sort of interesting behavior. They're also one of the only animals that I've actually had some visitor interaction with, like through the fence, racing this dhole over here, which we'll see much more of later. But let's get into the zoos right now. And the first zoo we're going to be looking at today is the Berlin Tierpark. And this is one of the dhole enclosures. It was currently empty. I think there was a sign mentioning something about that, but I'm pretty sure this is a dhole enclosure. It's very large. It's got an open view into it with a mesh fence in the back. You can see it from the other side, and yeah, it's super lush, beautiful, many trees. I also love the lushness in front. From a distance you barely see the moat, actually you only see that as you get up to it, but even the moat is like nicely decorated. And then this was the enclosure that the dholes were currently being housed in. Yeah, a little bit less nice, not as lush on the bottom. Still a lot of trees around though, but yeah, just a mesh front over here, making it pretty hard to see them. But yeah, still not a bad enclosure. It's pretty spacious and nice. And next up we have Parc de Bouillon, and this is not a horrible enclosure. It's actually quite similar to the one we just saw, except that it has more elevation differences. There's also a couple of logs over there. You can see them in the distance, which I have actually seen the dholes like climb around on and yeah, use as enrichment, so that's pretty fun. There's also an indoor viewing over here, nothing too special there, but you do get a view of that, which I guess is nice. And then as we turn around, we go through pretty much the entire zoo, and at the end we come to the other side of the enclosures. We're looking up this hill, and you can see the dhole kind of walking around in the distance there. And naturally curious that they did come and check me out over here as I was close to the fence, and that was super fun. Yeah, they're such cool creatures. I absolutely love them. Making this video really made me realize just how many awesome interactions I've had with dhole and how much I love them. So in my next Planet Zoo project, when I'm doing a bigger zoo again, I'm definitely going to include them. But yeah, next up we have the Zoo of Magdeburg, which also has a pretty nice dhole enclosure, although once again a lot of mesh over here. Over here they did choose to make the mesh kind of curve inward a little bit. There's also a bunch of hot wire up there. From what I've seen, this isn't completely necessary, but we'll see that in later enclosures. Anyway, yeah, we have a little backstage with a small separation area. There's also a couple of glass viewing areas over here, so you can see the dholes nice and up close if they do decide to come over this way. And as we keep walking, we'll see second glass viewing area, and beside that is kind of a unique feature of this habitat, I would say, is that there's a nice big pool for the dhole. From what I've seen, they do like to bathe and get themselves wet, so it's nice that they have that option here. And again, we've got some logs and things for them to walk over, and they do, so that's pretty cool. And then one final and third and final, I should say, glass viewing area over here, nicely decorated with some bark. But yeah, just a nice overview of the enclosure there. So yeah, pretty good overall. I would say it's a very nice enclosure. I appreciate the glass viewing points, and the dhole in here were really fun to see as always. Then next up we have the Allwetterzoo Münster, where the dhole are pretty much the first animal you see as you walk into the zoo. You've got a little viewing cabin over here where you can view into this habitat, and I absolutely love all the elevation differences, the little cave, all the logs and things all over the place. It's so much fun to see the dholes maneuver this space. And then as we walk under this canopy thing over here, yeah, we have some views into the enclosure through this mesh over here, and also through this big glass window where the dholes were constantly walking alongside it, and it was really fun to see them here. You can also see well, them perching up on the hill over there, giving some great views. The reflections on the glass are a little bit obtrusive, as you can see, but yeah, not to any huge detriment or anything. It's mainly if you're filming that becomes a huge issue. And as we walk into the indoor area over here, there's a beautiful mural with the dhole and the sloth bear, because this is mainly the sloth bear building, I would say, but there is also a small indoor area for the dhole over there. Then over here we've got a sloth bear enclosure, but it also has a sign for the dhole. So either they mix the sloth bears and the dholes together, which I suppose could be possible. Sloth bears get mixed with things like Corsac foxes all the time, so I feel like that is a viable mix. But it also could be that they like alternate them between the space. I'm not exactly sure about that. But yeah, this is also a wonderful enclosure over here. You already saw it in the sloth bear video, of course. But yeah, it's is really great. And then over here, one more viewing point of that first enclosure we saw. We've got this little fallen over log type thing that you can crawl into to get up close with the dolls. But there's also just another window over here. But yeah, and it allows you to see the entire enclosure, including that faux rock wall in the back, which is a little bit angular, but still, yeah, I guess it's nice. But yeah, really nice enclosure from Allwetterzoo Münster. Next up, we're going to another German zoo. This is Zoo Schwerin. I'm pretty sure this is the first time Schwerin has been on the channel. Yeah, really nice zoo as well. A bit of a medium-sized zoo in the north of Germany. And as you can see, very forested, very beautiful, and the Dhole enclosure is no exception over here. They've got a really interesting fence over here with this large square-holed mesh, and the poles kind of curving inwards, but it's not very tall. And like most canines, of course, Dholes aren't the best climbers, so something like this is enough to keep them in, I suppose. There is still some hot wire on there to make sure it's all escape-proof, but yeah, keep that in mind. So this zoo has an absolute ton of Dholes, as you can see over here. Such a nice large group, and they were all playing together and having so much fun. Loved it. We can also go up this hill to view the enclosure from above, and the Dholes were kind of following me around, checking out what I was doing. And there is this little viewing point over here, this little elevation, a little tree house, I guess you could almost say. It doesn't really offer that many more interesting views as you otherwise would get, but yeah, still nice. And then there is this entire like separate yard over here, just a little separation enclosure, and that pretty much wraps it up for Zoo Schwerin. So next up we've got the Grüne Zoo Wuppertal, and what I love about this one is that even though it kind of looks like we're looking down into the enclosure, because it slopes up in the back, you still get these really nice level views with the Dholes for when you're taking pictures or filming stuff, so you can get some really nice shots and footage here of them, which I really appreciate. Yeah, I got some beautiful footage of the Dholes here, as you can quite clearly see. So yeah, but the enclosure also is really nice. Wuppertal is also a lovely forested area. We've got this huge pool in the front, which I also saw the Dholes kind of drinking from, playing around in and stuff like that. Then in the back we can also see their backstage, as well as a little separation area. And as I zoomed in with my other camera, you could see that that was all opened up. The Dholes could move in and out as they please, but they do have the option, of course, to separate the Dholes from each other using this kind of fenced off area. So that's pretty interesting as well, some Dhole logistics. And then when I was here in the winter, I saw this Dhole with its winter coat full on display. Really cool to see that as well. And then as we move down the hill over here, there is this like weird protrusion of the habitat that goes into this little viewing area over here. Yeah, it is a little weird. Otherwise, like, I feel like the enclosure would have been fine without this weird part sticking out of it. But hey, it gives the Dholes extra space, and maybe this is a nice like place for them to retreat to if they don't want to be in the out and open area, because this part is a little bit more lush and like bushy, as you can see over here as well. So hey, it's fine, it's cool, it's not a bad thing, giving the animals more space. So yeah, but that's pretty much it for the Der Grüne Zoo Wuppertal. So let's move to the final zoo of this video, which is Dierenpark Zie-ZOO. And yeah, this is maybe not my favorite enclosure, but it's definitely the enclosure I've had the most fun at. This is pretty much the enclosure. It's nice and lush, tall grasses, a nice little tree over there. I love the little car. That's a nice bit of decoration there. You can see some enrichment feeder things, and yeah, you can see tons of Dholes moving around. You could also hear them kind of making a bunch of noises because they were fighting over some meat, which was really fun. But yeah, you can walk all the way around this enclosure. There's a path going all the way around it, but what we just saw was the only viewing area that has glass. Over here is the backstage, where you can see there's a small separation area in there. There was also a little kind of like water tub that the Dholes were bathing in, because this was a very hot day. Probably the hottest day of last year was when I visited this. But yeah, the reason this is one of my favorite Dhole experiences is, as I showed at the beginning of this video, the Dholes were so curious and playful. As we keep walking around it, we're just gonna quickly wrap up the viewing of the exhibit. So we've got this little shelter in the back here where they can kind of jump on top of and be safe from the elements. But yeah, as we finish our lap all the way around. We can already see the glass viewing area in the background over there, but this is where things kind of get interesting, because I was teasing the dolls a little bit, starting to run around the enclosure, and they, to my surprise, actually joined me in running laps around, which was just so much fun. I guess I started a race that I had no chance of winning, because these guys, of course, are way faster than me and have way more endurance than me. Like I mentioned, this was one of the hottest days of last year. One lap and I was already sweating profusely, but these guys just kept going and going. We made several laps around the enclosure, went back and forth over here, and you can just see how much fun they were having. I love it so much. So I will link a video up at the top or in the description. That's like the full 3+ minutes of me racing these dolls. You can see me running out of breath very quickly there. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, hope you got some doll inspiration. I certainly had so much fun making this video and sharing all these doll experiences that I've had with you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!